I'm 27 and I'm trying to keep myself going every day, and I kind of struggle sometimes. So what is your take on that?
What do you struggle with, brother?
I think just being motivated to get to my end goal. You know, I get
What's your end goal?
out. Honestly, 6 figures, have a big house. I'm being a little materialistic, but
well, that's why you're struggling. Yeah, I mean, I would have bet you couldn't have walked into that more than if I paid you to say what you just said. You're literally the hypothesis I have of why people are unhappy. You just made up an arbitrary goal for yourself based on material things without realizing the second you walk into that home and you make 6 figures, nothing's changed.
Damn, that was. Hey, I mean, I would rather have someone be honest with me, So
I'm even better, brother. I'm telling you from the deepest levels of love that you can even imagine. I know you. I've met 1,000 of you. All of them have lost the second they got there. You've been able to turn your perspective to something that's very easy to turn your perspective to. The world is very good at selling this. It's just super not true, bro.
I appreciate it, thank you. And kind of adding to that, what should we do, or
Yeah, I mean, I think the alternative to that is focusing on doing things you like.
What advice do you have for someone who's about to turn 30, who has 2 young kids and they're trying to exponentially grow their professional career in this space?
By realizing that patience is your only ally when it seems like it's your biggest foe.
Gotcha.
Right? The problem when you're trying to do something fast because of circumstances, right? Imagine, right? You're part of this residency class, 90% of your contemporaries are kids right out of school. That's a framework where immediately you're like, fuck, I'm so behind. Whatever's going through your mind. The problem is when you're trying to speed it up, you trip.
Yeah.
The faster you run, the more likely you're gonna trip. And so it's about the discipline of understanding. First of all, I'm so pumped you're in this program. I've had 2 or 3 people that I've spoken to in the last 6 months who had similar situations where they were quote unquote a different age from the majority of people in the residency class who 18 months later really were like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't have to rush. This was exactly right. Patience is your ally in this, brother. The merit of your work is gonna be the variable of your success, not how fast you politic it. I think one of the things that the world is struggling with is being able to deal with inconvenience. I think it's a real issue. I think it's a real opportunity. We've been programmed, parented, we've been fortunate in a lot of ways in the macro. Obviously, many of us can grow up with difficult situations, but we've demonized the capacity to be inconvenienced. And when I make a commitment, even though I hate going to that meeting or I don't want to do it, I've learned how to tolerate short-term or mid-term inconvenience. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm also very comfortable, similar to the last question, of changing my mind. It's okay to unwind a commitment. As long as you do it graciously. You could walk into the next meeting and say, hey, I need to resign at the end of this year from this committee. I just want to give everyone 9 months. Now you've created a light at the end of the tunnel, which almost weirdly makes you even better those 9 months. You know what I mean? I'd rather you be great on my board for 9 months or committee than be below average for 3 years. So I think it's a balance of willing to deal with inconvenience and also willing to graciously change your mind. Both of those things keep me passionate. I know there's an out if I do it graciously and appropriately, and I know that sometimes I have to sleep in the bed that I made.
What advice do you have for staying motivated and positive and for maintaining a useful mindset?
That's a great question. I think it's practice. I think it's perspective. I think you have to practice not valuing other people's opinions. Insecurity comes from overvaluing other people's opinions. It's a framework that was instilled in you through parenting and environment. That's just the truth and DNA. So I think it's practice. Like for example, the reason I'm so happy all the time, this is gonna be a little left field, is because almost on a daily basis, I imagine my parents dying, my children dying. I'm being serious with you. I know this is, again, a little left field, but it helps me put things in perspective. How can I be upset about a bad speech or a business deal going awry or something stumbling if I actually felt this morning? And I don't think it's meditation, but I think it's closer to it than I even realized, even as I talk about it now. I just genuinely practice. Brother, you have to practice every day saying, whose opinion do you care about if you fail? You know, one of the reasons I love losing is because I don't care about anybody's opinion in here about my loss. It's my loss. You worry about what you're doing. And most people don't have that framework, which leads to insecurity. If I came here, for example, and I was in your position and I was auditing all the bigger fish, what goes through my mind is, I'm gonna kill these fucking fish. Not, oh, they're better. Like, you know, it's just a perspective. It's kind of like life. Right now, if you choose to, and you only want to find negativity and bad, it's very easy. If you choose to, and you only want to find positivity and optimism, it's there. It's getting into a framework of changing the way you look at stuff. It really is. It's not naivete, it's not delusion, it's real life. So you need to practice. You need to practice. Bro, it's hard to be here. Just because there's some people that are doing it better, there's also billions of people that are doing it worse. The hell are you worried about the fucking 1,000 people here that are doing it better? What about the fucking 10 million that do it worse?
I wanted to know, since you're all about inspiration and everything, I've been feeling a little bit unmotivated, and I've been feeling like I should be doing something, or I should be I feel like I should be pulled in like different, I'm feeling uninspired basically. That's my question. How do you get, when you lose inspiration or you lose motivation, how do you get it back?
I get it back by remembering that you might die tomorrow.
That's true.
So I'm inspired by practicality and reality and the truth, which is, it is ridiculously impossible to become a human being. I am one. I have other good things going for me as a human being, and I'm just grateful. You're dwelling and looking at what you don't have versus looking at what you have. If you actually looked at what you had, your health, you know, living in America, you know, who the heck knows what would be on your list? If you actually spent all your time looking at that versus, I don't have $1 million, I'm not famous, I don't have this. If you spent all your time on what you have versus what you don't have, you would be the happiest girl on earth.
Frankly, like, why do you care so much about like us and like younger people, and why do you guys see us as such an investment going forward?
I think it's the right thing to do. You know, I think when you are blessed, there's a sense of responsibility. And I think, you know, so many of my business big boy, big girl friends laugh at the concept of how much we put in and upfront on this and how vulnerable we are for people leaving and da-da-da-da-da. I just don't see it that way. I know, you know, I think we have the best culture in the world, so I think a lot of people will stay, so that's good for the business. But even if people didn't stay, we can afford to do it. It's a nice thing to do. It leaves a positive impact on the business world. I want more people to be affected by the way we see business. And I feel great that we get to show you how it should be. You don't have a clue. When I tell you the greatest thing of this whole program for all of you is knowing this exists. You know how many people work for 25 years and have no idea that you can do it right? You know how many of your parents and friends and relatives and friends at school and cousins think you're completely full of shit when you talk about this company and that you're just drinking from some weird Kool-Aid that I made up? You know, it's just the right fucking thing to do, bro. You know?
It's awesome. I love that. Yeah, appreciate it. Believe me, I appreciate it.
And it goes back to the thing I said earlier, Luke, which is like, when you do the right thing by the other side, all the things that you want will happen. I call it 51-49. If I give all of you 51% of the value, then and then 49 will be just fine by me. And I think too many companies try to get somewhere between 80 and 100% of the value. And once you figure out the model for
Awesome.
49, you're good, you know?